How's it going, everybody? It is Dennis, and we're back with another video. And today, we're talking about distributions, specifically YieldMax ETF distributions. As always, I like going over this separately on a monthly basis. We go over my monthly income with options and all dividends, but I also love going over YieldMax monthly distributions and see where our shares are, where our dividends per shares are every month, and what is the amount of dividend in total in cash we receive for that month, as well as what we'll be doing with our dividends. So let's go ahead and get straight into it. Of course, I love being transparent, but today we can't be transparent because YieldMax ETF's a little slow on actually showing what our distribution will be. They usually show it on the day of the payday, instead of showing it earlier. Not sure why, but whatever. We could go ahead and look on their post that they did. You can see that TSLY is the ETF we hold, 6448. APLY is what we hold, 4043. AMZY is another one we hold, 9541, and GOOY, which is a 6858 distribution per share. So can be transparent by showing my account, but that's the best transparency I could show. But besides that, this is another way I guess I could show it to you guys, is looking at what the numbers are. Of course, let's go ahead to the month of June. Let's clear all, go to June, and let's look at June. Let's go ahead and zoom in and take a look. So starting off with the first dividend, the highest share count ETF I have from YieldMax ETF, and that is TSLY. With TSLY, we are at 346 shares at the moment, with the dividend per share for this month being $64.48, and that is going to earn us a total of $223.24. Of course, let's go ahead and go straight through all the earnings first, and then we're going to look what that compares to the previous month. Now, moving on to AMZY. AMZY, we still have the 203 shares. We are once again not adding any more shares. We're 100% taking out dividends, not reinvesting back in, because I do not want to reinvest up. I want to reinvest down when the shares are lower than my average cost. Unless, of course, the position is less than 10% of my portfolio, then I'll begin to reinvest once again. But we are at 203 shares again. We received 95.41 per share. And of course, this is in 0.9541, so cents per share. And our total payout for AMZY is $193.68. A pretty good payment. AMZY continues to deliver. Now, moving on to APLY, we grew now to 171.709 shares. Of course, reinvesting some of AMZY's and TSLY's income into APLY, GOOY, and YieldMax. And of course, with APLY, we're also reinvesting its own dividend back into itself. So extra shares being added constantly every month. And with that, we earned 0.4043 per share. And that gave us a total of $69.42. Of course, moving on to the last one. Well, last one that was paid out for this week. And that is GOOY. With GOOY, we hold 100 shares now. So we're at triple digits, 100.6523. And our dividends per share was $6.858, or a total similar to APLY, $69.03. Of course, there's also YieldMax, but YieldMax has not paid out, and I don't want to hold off and go over YieldMax. That's usually seen in the monthly distribution, but YieldMax once again is going to be a high dividend payer because the other dividends the other ETFs that are in YieldMax did pay out high dividends as well. And of course, our grand total without YieldMax is $555.37. Now let's go ahead and take a look at how that looks compared to other ones. So now looking compared to other ETFs or other payouts from the ETF. So we can see we're not going to go too far into it. We're going to go ahead and look at maybe a month before and 2 months before. So in April and May, we had 332 in April and 339 in May. We are now at 346 shares for TSLY. And the dividends per share have continued to grow, but this month they are down. The reason they are down, of course, is because the value of the shares is down as well. Tesla did trend downwards recently. No cool why. Could be a lot of reasons, but Tesla did downtrend recently, and so did TSLY with it. So, of course, distributions were lower, as well as volatility was lower on Tesla. So, therefore, the dividends paid out for TSLY were lower as well. But it still came out to a good $223.24. So we're continuing to stay above the 60-cent mark per share and also above the $200 income amount per month. And once again, we are close to, or actually we're lower than what the bottom was in April. But we'll see where next month takes us. as we're continue to adding shares into it, we continue getting more dividends and growing the dividends, and I don't mind it. Once again, long-term hold, I'm bullish on Tesla, the underlying, so therefore we're holding TSLY. Moving on to AMZY. AMZY, of course, is the love of people's lives nowadays. This one is paying high dividends. It's, of course, growing as well in value, and that's because Amazon, the underlying, is growing as well. So we're at 203 shares once again. We've been at 203 shares for 3 months now. This is the 3rd month. And our dividends have grown. Of course, this month it was a little bit lower than previous month of May. But we're at 95.41 compared to 97.26 of May and 69.7 of April. But the dividends did grow, so 141.49 for April, 197.44 for June or May, and now at June we're at 193.68. So continuing to hold the same amount of shares and continue to experience dividend growth and, you know, getting good dividends that go off to other funds. And one of those funds that the dividends go off to, this 193.68, it's going to be evenly distributed over to APLY. And as you can see, APLY continues to grow consistently. And I said this in my previous video. That video is going to be up here in the corner. But APLY is an ETF that I believe has some growth, and it continues to grow because of the underlying Apple has growth potential. And of course, I am increasing shares. That also leads to dividend growth. But if we look at distributions per share, they have been increasing. So as you can see, April we're at 3,835 with 119 shares. In May we're at 3,389 at 162 shares, and now we're at 0.4043 at 171.7 shares. And of course, the dividends do show that as well. They show that we've grown from 45.91 to 55.06 to 69.42. Moving on now to another one that receives a lot of AMZ's distribution evenly is GOOY. And GOOY is another one that's been showing trends of growth in dividend department and value department. We are now positive on GOOY. We are back in the positives. We're out of the negatives. So there is growth in the underlying, and there is growth, of course, in the ETF itself. So we were at 60 in April, at 30.99 for our dividend per share, and we got 18.88. Then we were at 70 in May for 66.77, and we got 46.75. Now we're at 165.23 per shares, and we got 68.58 per share, which gave us a total of $69.03. Of course, like mentioned before, YieldMax will not be, or is not on the list currently, but YieldMax has grown in share count as well. We're at roughly 160 shares of YieldMax. If they pay a similar dividend as they did in May of around 70 cents, then we will expect to have $100 plus of dividend payment, roughly at $120, which will put us at roughly the $690 mark for what our dividend total is, beating what our previous months was, which in May of $638.91. So, like mentioned before, the strategy, of course, let me go ahead and zoom out for you guys in a second. But of course, the strategy is pretty simple. I've stated this multiple times in multiple videos. TSLY and AMZY. TSLY, 50% goes back into TSLY because we're under my average costs, and I want to continue to reinvest because I am bullish on Tesla. And another 50% gets distributed evenly with APLY, GOOY, and YieldMax. AMZY, 100% comes out. 100% comes out of the dividends and goes into APLY, GOOY, and YieldMax evenly. And of course, I also have options income that gets reinvested into APLY, GOOY, and YieldMax, and a little bit actually into TSLY because I do want to add a little bit on the low side while it is cheap. If we look at, of course, the totals for each ETF, we can see that so far from TSLY for the year of 2024, we have earned $1,554.46. Our total distributions per share is $3.7951, and we have a total share, of course, what is the average, but the total of 332, or actually this, I think this is reading at this one. Yeah, it's reading that one, but that's a little outdated. But yeah, we're currently at 346.2143 shares. Now looking at, of course, at AMZY, we have currently received $865.78 from AMZY, and our total distribution per share is $4.3187. So it is higher than TSLY. The dividends per share is higher than TSLY, so it's pretty good. It's pretty good, but we're continuing to hold the same amount of shares. Don't want to add a little bit on the high side. Maybe once it dips lower into the negatives, which it seems like it's heading towards that way slowly. Amazon's slowing down a little bit. If it does dip negative, then we'll go ahead and add more shares. If it goes below my 10% portfolio diversity, then we'll add more shares. Moving on to APLY, total $301.90 so far for 2024 from APLY. We received $2.2756 per share of dividends from APLY. When it comes to GOOY, we received $2.5698 per share from GOOY, and we have a total of $189.04. And of course, with YieldMax, we've only had it for 3 months for 3 distributions, and we're at $171.21. We're outpacing GOOY, but of course, we're outpacing GOOY in shares as well, so it kind of makes sense. And we've already received $1.9315 from YieldMax payments, coming out to a 2024 total of $3,082.40. Of course, that $3,082.40 total is reinvested. It is not cash. I am not holding it. This is not profits. It is all getting reinvested back in to grow the portfolio, to grow the shares, to grow the dividends. Of course, a lot of people disagree with this. A lot of people use it for other things. If you want to use your dividends for income, if you want to use your dividends to purchase yourself stuff, pay your mortgage, pay your bills, you're more than okay to do so. Of course, you could do that with AMZY. AMZY is a great example. AMZY has growth. So technically, if you don't want to take, if you don't want to invest while it's going up, you could take money out from AMZY while keeping your share value, receiving high dividends, increasing dividends as well, and you could be making consistent income. So if I wanted to, I could take the $193.68 from AMZY and use it to pay some bills, or maybe go out for a night. It's a good way to do that as well. But personally, I reinvest back in. And of course, distribution-wise, for a distribution, we have right here, we could go ahead and take a look. I'm pretty sure this is updated, right? It is updated. In fact, no, it is not. But distribution is pretty much simple. This is not the updated version, but you understand how it works. We take the amount of TSLY income we made, and then we take the amount that we made from AMZY, go ahead and distribute it 50-50 for TSLY, and then we go ahead and distribute it 3 ways for AMZY. We split it into all these funds, and that's how much we get reinvested into those funds. Of course, that is my way of doing it. It has been working. It has been doing well. Of course, we could see APLY shares are growing, GOOY shares are growing, AMZY, it's not growing, of course. YieldMax shares are growing, and TSLY shares are growing. So we're getting share growth. We're getting dividend growth besides TSLY, but that's the underlying fault. Can't do much about that, but we're getting growth in shares. We're getting growth in dividends. We're getting growth in value with GOOY and AMZY and APLY. APLY, of course, or AMZY, of course, has been positive for a while. APLY is getting out of the negatives and heading towards the positive, and GOOY is in the positives now once again. So overall, portfolio is doing very well when it comes to YieldMax ETFs. YieldMax is going to be very interesting to see what they pay out for this month. They have recovered from their dividend payment, so we are back in the positives with YieldMax as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens at the end of this month. I'm pretty sure we're going to beat the $638.91 from the month of May. We're probably going to be at $680, maybe even $700 for dividend payments in the month of June. But it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very interesting, and you guys should stay in tune. Of course, I also have a new fund that I added into my ETF, but that you guys will see in the end of June. I added a new fund into my ETF, and let's just say it's a weekly paying fund. Not that many shares in it. It's a little bit small position, but I'm slowly adding into it, and we'll see where that goes. We'll see how it performs, and we'll go ahead and track it. We'll see where it goes. But thank you so much, everybody, for watching. That has been my dividend payment from YieldMax ETFs, at least the YieldMax ETFs that pay in that one time. So, TSLY, YieldMax, APLY, all that stuff. Or not APLY, AMZY, GOOY. YieldMax is next week, which we're not going to go over. That's going to be seen in the monthly video. But once again, thank you so much, everybody, guys, for watching. We have $555.37 so far for the month of June. That is not including options income. That is not earning YieldMax dividends, and that's not including all the other dividends that I'm going to receive in June. So starting off good. We're halfway through 2024, pretty much. June's the halfway point. July's up next, and so far we're at $3,082.40. So pretty much, what does that mean? If we continue to stay at this level of dividend per share and income earned, we will roughly be at $7,000 earned for 2024 with YieldMax ETFs alone. So that is very nice. Very, very, very nice. And we'll see where that goes, where it grows. Of course, the more income we earn, the more dividends we have, the more shares we own, and so on and so on and so on. It's a continuous cycle. So it's going to be very interesting to see. As long as the underlyings are going up, and we're good, they're going to be good to go. So once again, thank you everybody so much for watching. We're hitting that 800 mark soon, so if you guys go ahead and sub and like, that'll be very much appreciated so we can get this content out to more people and have them more informed on YieldMax ETFs and just anything dividend and option orientated. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video for next week, which is going to be very interesting because it'll be like the APLY video that I made from 2 weeks ago. It's going to be on another ETF. But once again, see you guys later. Thank you so much for watching.